The morning sun rose over New York City, casting golden light on the bustling streets below. Daniel Carter sat in his small office at the Global Space Institute, sipping coffee as he reviewed data streaming in from deep space probes. The room was quiet except for the hum of computers and the occasional beep of incoming signals. It was just another day, or so he thought. On one of the monitors, something unusual caught his eye. A cluster of dots appeared where there should have been nothing but empty space. At first, Daniel assumed it was a glitch. But as he zoomed in, the pattern became clearer. These weren't random blips. They were ships, hundreds of them, moving steadily toward Earth. His heart skipped a beat. For 3,000 years, humanity had lived under the assumption that peace with extraterrestrial civilizations was unbreakable. Ancient treaties signed by both humans and aliens ensured mutual respect and non-interference. But now, those treaties seemed to mean nothing. Daniel's hands trembled as he sent an urgent alert to his superiors. Within minutes, the Institute was alive with activity. Phones rang, emails flew back and forth, and scientists gathered around screens to confirm what Daniel had discovered. The alien fleet was real, and it was heading straight for Earth. News of the impending arrival spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the globe within hours. Panic began to ripple through cities as people tried to make sense of the situation. Outside the Institute, Laura Bennett stood on a busy street corner, holding her phone close to record reactions. As a journalist who covered space exploration, she knew this story would change everything. People walked past her, some talking loudly into their phones, others stopping to stare up at the sky. "Do you think they're here to take our jobs?" joked a man in a suit, earning nervous laughter from a group nearby. Laura smiled faintly but kept recording. Humor, she realized, was how most people coped with fear. Back inside the Institute, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. Why would the aliens break a peace agreement that had lasted 3 millennia? And why now? He pulled up historical records of human activity in space, searching for any clues. Nothing stood out. No recent conflicts, no breaches of protocol. Just humanity quietly exploring the stars. Yet here they were, hundreds of alien vessels, advancing without explanation. By late afternoon, world leaders convened for an emergency meeting. Screens flickered to life in conference rooms across the planet as presidents, prime ministers, and ambassadors prepared to face whatever came next. In New York, Laura rushed to the United Nations building, hoping to catch a glimpse of the unfolding drama. Reporters crowded outside, shouting questions at anyone who stepped through the doors. Inside, tensions ran high. When the holographic image of an alien ambassador materialized before the assembly, the room fell silent. The figure, identified as Zorith, spoke in a voice that was calm yet chilling. "Humans," it began, "you have broken sacred laws. You have expanded beyond your solar system, disrupting the balance of the galaxy. This is an act of aggression we cannot ignore." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some diplomats leaned forward, demanding clarification, while others exchanged worried glances. Outside, Laura listened intently to live updates, scribbling notes furiously. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Humanity hadn't even known these sacred laws existed. How could they be punished for breaking rules they didn't understand? As night fell over the city, Daniel stared out the window of his office, watching the lights of Manhattan twinkle against the darkening sky. He felt a mix of dread and curiosity. What did the aliens want? Were they truly here to attack, or was there more to their declaration of war? One thing was certain: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. And maybe not without a laugh, either. The next morning, the world woke up to the reality of an alien fleet hovering in Earth's orbit. News channels broadcast non-stop updates, showing grainy images of the massive ships against the backdrop of space. People gathered around televisions in homes, cafes, and offices, trying to process what was happening. Laura Bennett sat in a crowded diner, typing furiously on her laptop while keeping one ear tuned to the chatter around her. Most conversations were filled with disbelief. And jokes. They waited 3,000 years just to tell us we're bad neighbors, said a man at the counter, laughing as he sipped his coffee. Maybe they'll send us a bill for cosmic rent. His comment drew chuckles from nearby customers, but Laura noticed something beneath the laughter. Fear. Even as people joked, their eyes darted nervously toward the windows, half expecting to see alien ships descending. Meanwhile, Daniel Carter spent the day poring over intercepted signals from the alien fleet. He worked alongside Mia Rodriguez, a quiet but brilliant engineer who specialized in energy systems. Together, they analyzed patterns in the transmissions, hoping to find some clue about the aliens' intentions. The signals were complex, almost musical, and unlike anything Daniel had encountered before. It's like they're speaking in code, Mia muttered, rubbing her temples. But why go through all this trouble if they just want to attack? While scientists scrambled for answers, governments prepared for the worst. Military bases went on high alert, and fighter jets patrolled the skies. Yet, despite the seriousness of the situation, public reaction remained strangely lighthearted. Social media buzzed with memes mocking the aliens. One viral post showed a cartoon alien holding a sign that read, "We come in peace, or do we?" Another featured a photo of a UFO with the caption, "If you're here to conquer Earth, can you start by fixing my Wi-Fi?" Laura decided to dig deeper into the humor sweeping the globe. She interviewed ordinary people, asking how they felt about the invasion. Sarah Monroe, a schoolteacher from Chicago, told her, "Honestly, it's kind of funny. I mean, look at them. They're flying around in big metal saucers like it's a sci-fi movie. If they wanted to scare us, they're doing a terrible job." Laura nodded, jotting down notes. She couldn't help but agree. There was something almost comical about the whole scenario. Later that evening, Laura received an anonymous tip about secret government experiments involving alien technology. Intrigued, she followed the lead to an old research facility on the outskirts of the city. The building looked abandoned, its windows boarded up and walls covered in graffiti. But as she approached, she noticed faint lights glowing inside. Her heart raced as she slipped through a side door, careful not to make noise. Inside, she found rows of dusty equipment and shelves stacked with strange artifacts. Some items looked like pieces of machinery, while others resembled glowing crystals. A folder lying on a table caught her attention. It contained documents labeled *Project Eclipse*, detailing experiments conducted decades ago. According to the files, scientists had reverse-engineered parts of an alien probe found in the 1980s. One section mentioned a beacon that was accidentally activated during testing, a beacon capable of sending signals across vast distances of space. Laura's mind raced. Could this be why the aliens were here? Had humanity unknowingly summoned them by triggering the beacon? She snapped photos of the documents before slipping out of the facility. As she walked back to her car, she realized she might have stumbled onto something far bigger than anyone imagined. Back at the Global Space Institute, Daniel and Mia continued their work, unaware of Laura's discovery. They focused on decoding more of the alien signals, slowly piecing together fragments of information. At one point, Mia paused and looked at Daniel. "Do you think they're really mad at us?" she asked. "Or is this, I don't know, some kind of test?" Daniel shrugged. "Either way, we need to figure out what they want. Fast." Outside, the city buzzed with life, seemingly unchanged by the looming threat above. People laughed, argued, and went about their daily routines, treating the alien fleet like a distant storm cloud that might never break. For now, humanity's response was clear. If the aliens wanted war, they'd have to earn it. And until then, everyone would keep laughing. By the third day, the alien fleet had settled into a steady orbit around Earth, casting long shadows across the planet as it blocked out parts of the sun. Despite the ominous sight, life on the ground continued much as it always had. People went to work, kids played in parks, and restaurants stayed busy. The aliens hadn't made another move since Zorath's declaration of war, leaving humanity stuck in a strange limbo between fear and disbelief. Laura Bennett spent most of her time chasing leads about Project Eclipse. The documents she'd uncovered at the abandoned facility painted a troubling picture. Decades ago, scientists had tampered with alien technology they barely understood. One report mentioned an accidental activation of a beacon that sent a signal deep into space. Laura couldn't shake the feeling that this was connected to the current crisis. If the aliens were here because of humanity's mistakes, then blaming them for breaking sacred laws felt unfair. She decided to confront Daniel Carter, hoping he might shed light on the matter. When she arrived at the Global Space Institute, Daniel was hunched over his desk, surrounded by papers and coffee cups. Maya Rodriguez sat nearby, typing furiously on her laptop. Laura introduced herself and explained what she'd found. At first, Daniel seemed skeptical, but when she showed him the photos of the documents, his expression changed. "This could be why they're here," Daniel said slowly, his voice heavy with concern. "If we triggered their beacon, they might think we're trying to provoke them." He glanced at Mia, who nodded thoughtfully. "But why wait 3,000 years? Why not come sooner?" Laura shrugged. "Maybe they only noticed recently, or maybe they were watching us all along, waiting to see what we'd do next." While the scientists debated the implications, public reaction grew even more bizarre. Jake Thompson, a tech entrepreneur known for his bold ideas, held a press conference to announce his plan to fight back. Standing in front of a sleek prototype drone, he declared, "We're not going to let some extraterrestrial tourists push us around. My company has developed advanced AI-powered drones that can take these guys out before they even know what hit them." The crowd cheered, snapping photos and recording videos. Jake's confidence was contagious, and soon social media lit up with support for his initiative. Memes comparing Jake to a real-life superhero spread like wildfire. Aliens versus drones. Who will win? Read one viral post, accompanied by a cartoon of a drone zapping a UFO. Despite Jake's bravado, not everyone shared his enthusiasm. Military officials dismissed his efforts as reckless, arguing that civilian involvement could escalate the conflict. General Harper, a stern-faced officer leading Earth's defense strategy, told reporters, "This is not a game. We need disciplined forces, not toys built in someone's garage." Jake fired back during a live interview, calling the military outdated and slow to adapt. "They're stuck in the past," he said, pointing to his drone. "This is the future. If they won't use it, we will." As tensions rose between civilians and the military, Daniel and Mia focused on finding a solution. They believed the key lay in understanding the aliens' communication signals. Working late into the night, they identified patterns that suggested the fleet wasn't fully coordinated. Some ships drifted slightly off course, while others emitted weaker signals than expected. It was almost as if the aliens weren't acting with complete unity or purpose. Maya voiced her suspicions aloud. "What if this isn't really about war? What if they're testing us, seeing how we react?" Daniel frowned. "That would explain why their attacks haven't been serious so far. But if it's a test, what are they looking for?" Before they could answer, news broke of another development. Sarah Monroe, the schoolteacher from Chicago, had captured footage of an alien reconnaissance probe crashing into Lake Michigan. The video showed the small craft spiraling out of control after being hit by one of Jake's experimental drones. Onlookers cheered as the probe sank beneath the waves, turning the incident into yet another joke. "Guess they didn't read the manual on flying," quipped a bystander in the background of Sarah's video. Laura watched the clip on her phone, shaking her head. Humanity's response was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Instead of cowering in fear, people laughed at the invaders, treating them like clumsy intruders rather than deadly enemies. She wondered if this was bravery or arrogance. Either way, the stage was set for something bigger. Whether humanity realized it or not, the aliens were watching and waiting. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez worked tirelessly at the Global Space Institute, their minds racing to piece together a plan. They knew humanity couldn't rely on humor or half-baked gadgets to face the alien fleet. What they needed was a strategy. Something smart, something unexpected. That's when Mia had an idea. "What if we hit them where it hurts?" she said one evening, leaning over a cluttered desk covered in notes and diagrams. "Their ships move in perfect formation, right? That means they're connected somehow. If we can disrupt their communication, we might be able to scatter them." Daniel's eyes lit up. "You mean like jamming their signals?" "Better," Maya replied with a grin. "We use quantum entanglement to create interference. It's risky, but if we pull it off, we could disable their entire fleet without firing a single shot." Excited by the possibility, they began sketching out designs for a device capable of generating such interference. The concept was complex, but Mia's expertise made it feel within reach. Meanwhile, Laura Bennett continued her investigation into Project Eclipse, determined to uncover more about humanity's role in provoking the aliens. She reached out to retired scientists who had worked on the project, hoping someone would talk. One name kept coming up: Dr. Alan Grant, a reclusive physicist who had disappeared from public view years ago. After some digging, Laura tracked him down to a small cabin in the woods outside Boston. When she arrived, she found a frail man with silver hair and sharp eyes that hinted at a brilliant mind still intact. At first, he refused to speak, but Laura's persistence paid off. Over cups of tea, Dr. Grant admitted that the beacon activated during Project Eclipse hadn't just sent a signal, it had essentially screamed into space, announcing Earth's presence to anyone listening. "We thought we were being careful," he confessed, his voice tinged with regret. "But we didn't understand what we were dealing with. Now look where it's gotten us." Back in Chicago, Jake Thompson was busy testing his AI-driven drones. His team launched another prototype, this time targeting a larger alien ship hovering near the city. To everyone's surprise, the drone managed to graze the vessel's hull, causing sparks to fly. Crowds gathered to watch, cheering as though it were a fireworks display. Videos of the encounter flooded social media, further fueling humanity's growing confidence. But not everyone celebrated. Military leaders grew increasingly frustrated with Jake's freelance tactics. General Harper issued a stern warning, calling his actions reckless and potentially dangerous. "This isn't a game," Harper told reporters. "Every move we make has consequences. Civilians need to step back and let professionals handle this." Jake ignored the criticism, doubling down on his efforts. He announced plans to mass-produce the drones, offering them free to any country willing to fight. "If the military won't act, then we will," he declared during a press conference. Humanity doesn't bow to anyone, not even aliens. As tensions between civilians and the military escalated, Daniel and Mia made progress on their quantum device. With help from Sarah Monroe, who volunteered her skills as a videographer to document their work, they assembled a prototype in record time. The machine looked crude, wires stuck out in every direction, and its core glowed faintly, but it worked. In a controlled test, they successfully disrupted a simulated alien signal, proving their theory. Laura visited the institute to see the device for herself. Impressed by what she saw, she wrote an article highlighting Daniel and Mia's efforts. Her piece struck a chord with readers, shifting public opinion slightly. For the first time, people began to take the threat seriously, not because they were scared, but because they realized there was a chance to win without violence. Still, questions lingered. Why hadn't the aliens retaliated after Jake's attacks? Why did their movements seem so hesitant? As Daniel stared at the glowing prototype, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was missing something important. Were the aliens truly here to conquer, or was there more to their arrival than met the eye? Outside, the world buzzed with anticipation. People laughed, argued, and prepared for whatever came next. But deep down, everyone knew the real battle was just beginning. The aliens finally made their move on the fifth day, launching what appeared to be their first major assault. Cities around the globe braced for destruction as the fleet descended closer to Earth's atmosphere. But instead of precision strikes or overwhelming force, the attacks were clumsy and disorganized. Alien ships fired weak energy beams that fizzled out before reaching their targets, while others hovered aimlessly, as if unsure of their mission. In New York City, crowds gathered in Times Square to watch the spectacle unfold on massive digital screens. When an alien vessel accidentally collided with a skyscraper's antenna, sending sparks flying, people erupted into laughter. "Looks like they need GPS," someone shouted, earning applause from the crowd. Reporters struggled to maintain serious expressions as they covered the chaotic scenes, but even they couldn't resist smiling at the absurdity. Sarah Monroe was filming the events in Chicago when she witnessed another comical failure. An alien ship attempted to fire at a military base, only for its weapon to malfunction mid-blast. The resulting explosion sent the craft spiraling out of control, crashing into Lake Michigan once again. "Third time's the charm, I guess," Sarah joked to her camera, capturing footage of bystanders laughing and taking selfies with the smoking wreckage in the background. Back at the Global Space Institute, Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez watched the news with mixed emotions. On one hand, the aliens' ineptitude was encouraging. It suggested humanity might have the upper hand. On the other hand, it raised troubling questions. Why were such advanced beings struggling so much? Was this truly an invasion, or was something else going on? Laura Bennett arrived at the Institute later that afternoon, carrying fresh insights from her interviews with retired scientists. She shared Dr. Alan Grant's theory that humanity had unknowingly summoned the aliens by activating the beacon during Project Eclipse. "If they're here because of us, then maybe we owe them an explanation," Laura suggested. "Instead of fighting, why not try talking?" Daniel nodded thoughtfully. "It's worth a shot. But how do we even start a conversation? Their signals are too complex for us to decode fully." Mia chimed in, pointing to the quantum device they've been working on. "What if we use this to send our own message? We could modify it to broadcast a signal instead of disrupting theirs. It might be enough to get their attention." Excited by the idea, the team got to work modifying the prototype. Hours passed as they fine-tuned the machine, ensuring it could transmit a clear and simple message. "We mean no harm." While they labored, Jake Thompson continued his rogue operations, deploying more drones to harass the alien fleet. His actions drew both praise and criticism, with some hailing him as a hero and others accusing him of escalating tensions unnecessarily. When the modified quantum device was ready, Daniel and Mia decided to test it immediately. They chose a quiet rooftop overlooking the city, setting up the machine under the cover of darkness. As the device hummed to life, a faint beam of light shot skyward, carrying their message into space. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, one of the alien ships broke formation and drifted closer to Earth, its lights blinking in response. "It worked," Mia exclaimed, gripping Daniel's arm. "They're answering." But before they could celebrate, the mood shifted. News broke of an attack in Tokyo, where one of Jake's drones malfunctioned and struck a civilian building. Dozens were injured, and public opinion began to sour. Social media filled with angry comments criticizing Jake's recklessness. Even those who had laughed at the aliens earlier now questioned whether humanity's arrogance was making things worse. General Harper seized the opportunity to demand stricter control over civilian efforts. "This is exactly why we warned against amateur tactics," he told reporters. "One mistake could cost lives." Jake defended himself fiercely, arguing that his drones were still humanity's best chance at defending itself. But the incident cast a shadow over his campaign, forcing him to scale back his operations temporarily. As night fell, Daniel gazed up at the stars, wondering what the aliens would do next. Their response to the quantum signal proved they were capable of communication. But what did they want? Were they testing humanity's ability to cooperate, or simply biding their time before striking harder? In the streets below, Laughter had given way to murmurs of unease. People stared at the glowing dots in the sky, realizing the stakes were higher than they'd imagined. The aliens weren't just invaders. They were a mirror reflecting humanity's strengths and flaws alike. And for the first time, the world began to wonder, were humans ready for what came next? The next morning, Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez arrived at the Global Space Institute to find a message waiting for them. It was from General Harper, requesting an urgent meeting. The military wanted to know more about the quantum device and its potential use in communicating with the aliens. Though hesitant, Daniel agreed to share their findings, knowing that cooperation might be humanity's best chance at resolving the crisis. As they prepared for the meeting, Mia confessed something she'd kept hidden until now. "I worked on Project Eclipse," she admitted quietly, her voice heavy with guilt. "Early in my career, I helped study the alien artifacts. That's how I learned so much about their technology." Daniel stared at her, surprised but not angry. "Why didn't you say anything before?" "I was ashamed," Mia admitted. "We thought we were doing good work, exploring the unknown. But now, I think we woke something we weren't ready for." Her revelation weighed heavily on Daniel as they headed to the military base. There, General Harper listened intently as Daniel explained how the quantum device could disrupt or communicate with the alien fleet. When he finished, Harper leaned back in his chair, considering the implications. Finally, he spoke. "If this works, it could change everything. But if it fails—" "It won't fail," Daniel interrupted firmly. "We've tested it. We know it can reach them." Harper nodded reluctantly. "All right, you'll have our support. But remember, one wrong move, and we're all dead." Meanwhile, Laura Bennett continued her investigation into Project Eclipse, determined to expose the truth. She reached out to Sarah Monroe, asking for help documenting the growing divide between civilians and the military. Together, they visited protest sites where people held signs reading "*Stop playing war*" and "*Talk. Don't fight*". Public opinion was shifting again, with many calling for peace talks instead of further aggression. Laura also dug deeper into Jake Thompson's operations, uncovering reports of near misses caused by his drones. While some still hailed him as a hero, others accused him of endangering lives. Jake defended himself fiercely, insisting his efforts were necessary. "If we don't fight back, they'll walk all over us," he told reporters during a heated interview. "Humor and handshakes won't save us." Back at the Institute, Daniel and Mia refined their plan to send a second message using the quantum device. This time, they aimed to include visual data, a series of symbols representing peace and cooperation. They hoped the aliens would understand the gesture and respond in kind. As they worked, Laura visited to share her latest findings about Project Eclipse. She showed them evidence suggesting the beacon had been triggered multiple times over the years, each activation sending stronger signals into space. "This isn't just about one mistake," Laura said grimly. "It's decades of errors adding up. The aliens probably think we're deliberately trying to provoke them." Mia looked stricken. "Then we need to make things right. Fast." That evening, the team gathered on the rooftop once more, setting up the quantum device under a starry sky. As the machine hummed to life, beams of light shot upward, carrying their message deep into space. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, slowly, one of the alien ships descended closer to Earth, hovering silently above the city. Suddenly, a holographic figure appeared, not Zorith, but a different alien ambassador. Its voice echoed softly, speaking in broken English. "Your signal. Received. Explain." Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. "We didn't mean to call you here," he said carefully. "It was an accident. We want to fix this peacefully." The alien tilted its head, studying him curiously. "Prove your intent." Before Daniel could respond, shouts erupted nearby. A group of protesters had gathered below, holding signs demanding answers. Some cheered when they saw the alien, while others jeered, throwing objects toward the ship. The ambassador hesitated, then vanished, leaving behind only silence. General Harper arrived moments later, furious. "What did you do?" he demanded. "We tried to talk," Daniel replied, frustration creeping into his voice. "But every time we take a step forward, someone pushes us back." Laura watched the scene unfold, realizing the situation was more fragile than ever. Humanity stood at a crossroads. Laugh off the threat, fight blindly, or find a way to truly connect. The choice would define not just their survival, but their future. The days that followed were tense and uncertain. The brief encounter with the alien ambassador left humanity with more questions than answers, while Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez worked tirelessly to refine their communication efforts. Public opinion grew increasingly divided. Some people called for peace talks, urging leaders to focus on diplomacy rather than conflict. Others, however, remained convinced that the aliens couldn't be trusted and demanded stronger action. Jake Thompson was among those who refused to back down. Despite criticism over his drone's role in the Tokyo incident, he doubled down on his mission to defend Earth. "We can't afford to sit around waiting for them to decide if we're worth talking to," he told a crowd during a rally. "We need to show them we're ready for anything." His words earned cheers from supporters, but drew sharp condemnation from others, including Laura Bennett, who wrote an article criticizing his reckless approach. Laura's piece sparked widespread debate. She argued that humanity's arrogance might have brought the aliens here in the first place, and continuing to act without understanding could make things worse. Her article gained traction online, prompting protests outside military bases and government buildings. Signs read "*Listen before you fight*" and "*Peace is stronger than war*." Even Sarah Monroe joined the movement, using her videos to highlight stories of ordinary people calling for calm. Meanwhile, Daniel and Mia prepared for another attempt at communication. With General Harper's reluctant approval, they set up the quantum device aboard a high-altitude aircraft, hoping to send a clearer message beyond Earth's atmosphere. This time, they included images of Earth, its cities, landscapes, and diverse cultures, alongside symbols of peace. They hoped the visuals would bridge the language gap and prove humanity's sincerity. As the plane ascended into the night sky, Laura accompanied them, determined to document every step. She watched as Daniel and Mia adjusted the machine, their faces lit by its soft glow. When the signal was sent, a collective hush fell over the team. Minutes passed, then hours, with no response. Just as hope began to fade, a series of lights blinked across the horizon, a pattern matching the rhythm of the message they'd sent. "It's working," Mia whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. The alien fleet rearranged itself, forming what looked like a deliberate shape, a circle surrounding Earth. It wasn't aggressive. It felt almost protective, but not everyone saw it that way. News outlets interpreted the formation differently, with some claiming the aliens were preparing to attack. Panic spread quickly, fueled by sensational headlines and doctored footage of supposed alien aggression. Jake seized the moment, announcing plans to deploy his largest drone yet. "If they're planning something, we'll stop them first," he declared. Laura confronted him later, pleading for restraint. "You're making things worse," she said firmly. "Every move you make pushes us closer to disaster." "I'm protecting us," Jake shot back. "What are you doing?" "Writing articles and hoping they don't kill us." His words stung, but Laura refused to back down. Sometimes courage means stepping back, not rushing in. Back at the Institute, Daniel reviewed footage of the alien fleet's movements, searching for patterns. He noticed something odd. The ships weren't attacking or retreating. They seemed to be waiting. For what, he couldn't say, but it gave him hope. Maybe the aliens weren't enemies after all. Maybe they were testing humanity's ability to cooperate, or maybe they were just as confused as everyone else. That evening, Laura published a new article, sharing her theory about the aliens' intentions. She urged readers to consider the possibility that this wasn't an invasion but a misunderstanding. Her words struck a chord, sparking rallies in cities worldwide. People held candles instead of signs, chanting *peace over fear* as they gazed up at the stars. In the shadows, however, tensions simmered. Jake's drones remained armed, and military forces stayed on high alert. Humanity stood at a tipping point, caught between laughter, fear, and the fragile hope of connection. Whatever happened next would depend on whether they chose to listen or fight. The following morning, humanity woke up to an unexpected development. The alien fleet had moved closer to Earth, forming a tighter circle around the planet. Instead of attacking or retreating, the ships simply hovered, their lights blinking in rhythmic patterns. Scientists scrambled to interpret the signals, while governments debated whether this was a prelude to war or something else entirely. Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez spent hours analyzing the blinking lights, searching for meaning. They'd noticed that the patterns matched sequences used in human communication, specifically binary code. "They're trying to talk to us," Daniel said, his voice filled with awe. "Not just respond, but actually communicate." With Laura Bennett documenting every step, they decoded fragments of the message. It wasn't hostile. It was a question. "Why did you call?" Mia stared at the screen, her heart racing. "They think we summoned them on purpose," she whispered. "They don't understand it was an accident." Laura leaned forward, her notebook ready. "Then we need to explain. Show them it wasn't intentional." Working quickly, Daniel and Mia modified the quantum device to send a new message. This time, they included images from Project Eclipse, the artifacts, the beacon, and the accidental activation. They hoped the visuals would clarify humanity's role in triggering the signal. As the plane carrying the device took off, Laura filmed the process, capturing both the tension and hope etched on everyone's faces. Hours later, the aliens responded. A holographic figure appeared over major cities worldwide, projecting a calm yet stern presence. Unlike Zorith, this ambassador spoke clearly in English. "Your explanation. Accepted. But your actions disturb balance. Why expand without care?" The question hung heavy in the air. Governments convened emergency meetings, debating how to reply. Public reaction was mixed. Some saw the aliens' words as a fair critique, while others dismissed them as judgmental interference. Jake Thompson, however, seized the moment to rally his supporters. "See, they're blaming us for doing what any species would do: grow, explore, survive. We can't let them dictate our future." His fiery speeches reignited calls for resistance, drawing large crowds. Protesters clashed with peace advocates, turning streets into chaotic battlegrounds of opinion. In New York City, Sarah Monroe recorded scenes of both sides, families holding hands and chanting for unity, juxtaposed with angry mobs shouting slogans against the aliens. Her videos went viral, highlighting the deep divisions within humanity. Amid the chaos, Daniel proposed a bold idea: direct negotiations. He suggested sending representatives to meet the aliens aboard a neutral station halfway between Earth and their fleet. General Harper initially rejected the plan, calling it too risky. But pressure from world leaders and public demand forced him to reconsider. Reluctantly, he agreed to support the mission, provided military personnel accompanied the team. Laura pushed for transparency, insisting that journalists be allowed to cover the event. "This isn't just about governments," she argued. "It's about all of us." Her persistence paid off when she was granted limited access to document the historic meeting. As preparations began, Jake grew increasingly frustrated. "You're walking into a trap," he warned Daniel during a heated exchange. "What happens if they take you hostage, or worse?" "We have to try," Daniel replied calmly. "If we don't, we'll never know why they're really here." On the day of the meeting, tensions ran high. The delegation, including Daniel, Mia, Laura, and several diplomats, boarded a spacecraft escorted by fighter jets. As they approached the neutral station, the alien fleet parted to allow passage. a gesture that felt almost ceremonial. Inside the station, the atmosphere was tense but respectful. Zoreth greeted them, flanked by other alien figures. Humans, it began. You test limits. You push boundaries. This is not wrong, but it must be done wisely. The conversation lasted hours, with both sides exchanging questions and explanations. Humanity admitted its mistakes, while the aliens acknowledged their own role in misunderstanding the situation. By the end, a fragile agreement emerged. The aliens would withdraw, giving humanity time to reflect and establish clearer guidelines for space exploration. As the delegation returned to Earth, Laura couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. For the first time, humanity had faced itself and its place in the universe with honesty. Whether it was enough remained to be seen. When the delegation returned to Earth, news of the agreement spread quickly. The aliens had agreed to withdraw their fleet, but only under one condition. Humanity had to establish stricter rules for space exploration and prove it could act responsibly. It was a challenge that left world leaders scrambling to organize summits, draft policies, and address decades of unchecked ambition in space. Laura Bennett accompanied the team back to New York City, where she worked tirelessly to document everything. Her article about the negotiations became a global sensation, painting a picture of humanity standing at a crossroads. "This isn't just about aliens," she wrote. "It's about us, how we treat each other, our planet, and the universe beyond." Her words struck a chord, sparking conversations in homes, schools, and workplaces around the world. In the days that followed, Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez threw themselves into helping governments create guidelines for future space missions. They emphasized caution, urging leaders to prioritize understanding over expansion. "We can't keep making the same mistakes," Daniel said during a televised interview. "Every step we take out there reflects who we are down here." But not everyone shared their optimism. Jake Thompson dismissed the agreement as weak, arguing that humanity had surrendered its freedom to explore. "They're telling us where we can and can't go," he ranted during a press conference. "What happens when they decide they don't like something else we do? Are we just supposed to sit back and take orders?" His fiery speeches reignited tensions, drawing support from those who felt the aliens were imposing unfair restrictions. Protests erupted once again, with some groups demanding defiance while others called for unity. Sarah Monroe filmed the growing divide, capturing scenes of families torn apart by differing opinions. In Chicago, she interviewed a father and son who couldn't agree on whether humanity should trust the aliens. "They gave us a chance to fix things," the father said firmly. "Why waste it?" His son shook his head. "Because we shouldn't have to ask permission to live." Amid the chaos, Laura focused on uncovering more about Project Eclipse. She discovered that several countries had secretly continued experiments with alien technology long after the project was officially shut down. Documents revealed plans to weaponize artifacts, raising suspicions that someone within the government might have provoked the aliens intentionally, or at least ignored the risks. When she published her findings, public outrage reached new heights. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, holding signs that read *truth before trust and no more secrets*. The pressure forced officials to hold public hearings, where scientists and policymakers answered tough questions about humanity's past actions. Dr. Alan Grant, the retired physicist Laura had interviewed earlier, testified about the dangers of tampering with alien tech. "We thought we were unlocking doors," he admitted, "but we didn't realize we were opening cages." As weeks passed, the alien fleet began to retreat, its ships disappearing one by one into the vastness of space. People watched from rooftops and parks, their emotions mixed. Some cheered, relieved that the crisis was over. Others stared silently, wondering if the aliens would ever return, and what kind of world they'd find when they did. Daniel and Mia continued working together, determined to ensure no such incident happened again. They founded an organization dedicated to ethical research and education, aiming to teach humanity how to explore space responsibly. We've been given a second chance, Maya told a group of students during a lecture. Let's make sure we use it wisely. Jake, meanwhile, faded from the spotlight as public opinion shifted against him. His drones remained grounded, relics of a time when fear outweighed reason. Though he still believed in fighting back, fewer people listened to his warnings. By the end of the month, life on Earth began to settle into a new rhythm. The skies were clear, but the lessons lingered. Humanity had faced itself, and its place in the cosmos, with honesty. Whether it was enough remained uncertain. But for now, laughter had turned to reflection, and hope had taken root. The stars still waited, silent and distant, watching to see what humanity would do next. Months passed, and the world slowly adjusted to life after the alien encounter. The skies remained clear, but humanity carried the weight of what had happened. People talked about it everywhere, in coffee shops, classrooms, and offices. It wasn't just the memory of the alien fleet that lingered. It was the realization that humanity's actions had consequences far beyond Earth. Jake Thompson, once a loud voice for resistance, grew quieter as public opinion turned against him. His drones gathered dust in warehouses, reminders of a time when fear and arrogance had driven decisions. Though he still believed in fighting back, fewer people listened. Instead, they focused on rebuilding trust, not just with the aliens, but with each other. Jake eventually retreated from the spotlight, leaving behind a legacy of boldness tinged with recklessness. Daniel Carter and Mia Rodriguez dedicated their energy to ensuring humanity wouldn't repeat its mistakes. Their organization, called Stellar Harmony *, worked tirelessly to promote ethical space exploration. They traveled the globe, giving lectures and hosting workshops to educate people about the importance of caution and cooperation. "We're not alone in the universe anymore," Daniel often said. "Every step we take out there reflects who we are down here." Laura Bennett wrote a best-selling book chronicling the entire event, titled When We Laughed at the Stars. In it, she captured both the humor and seriousness of humanity's response to the alien crisis. Her words resonated deeply, reminding readers that laughter hadn't been a sign of weakness. It had been a way to face fear together. But she also emphasized the lessons learned: humility, responsibility, and the need to act with care. Sarah Monroe returned to teaching, using her videos and experiences to inspire her students. She showed them footage of the alien ships, protests, and negotiations, encouraging them to think critically about humanity's role in the cosmos. "The stars aren't just out there," she told her class one day. "They're part of us now. What kind of story do you want to tell?" Governments worldwide established new agencies to oversee space exploration, ensuring transparency and accountability. Decades-old secrets like Project Eclipse were declassified, sparking debates about ethics and responsibility. Dr. Alan Grant became a key figure in these discussions, advocating for caution and respect. "We've been given a second chance," he often said. "Let's not waste it." As weeks turned into months, the alien fleet remained gone, but not forgotten. Occasionally, people claimed to see strange lights in the sky, sparking brief moments of panic. Each time, scientists investigated, only to find natural explanations. Still, the sightings kept humanity's gaze fixed on the stars, a reminder of how close they'd come to disaster, and how much they'd grown since then. In quiet moments, Daniel sometimes wondered if the aliens truly understood humanity. Had they seen the humor, the fear, the courage, or had they simply written humans off as reckless children? He hoped it was the former. After all, humanity had proven it could laugh at itself and learn. One evening, Laura stood on a rooftop overlooking New York City, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The lights of Manhattan twinkled like stars, and for a moment, she felt connected to something larger than herself. Humanity wasn't perfect. It never would be. But it had taken a step toward maturity. The aliens had forced them to look inward, to confront their flaws and strengths alike. Below, laughter echoed through the streets, A group of kids played with toy spaceships, pretending to negotiate peace treaties between planets. Laura smiled, realizing the next generation already carried the lessons of the past within them. They dreamed bigger dreams now, not of conquest, but of connection. The stars above remained silent, watching patiently. Humanity had laughed, fought, and stumbled, but it had also listened. And in doing so, it had taken its first real steps toward becoming part of something greater. Whatever came next, they would face it together, with hope, humility, and perhaps even a little humor.